Play that song, Orlando Magic fans. They just got a play-in defining win over the Atlanta Hawks, 119-112. We're going to be talking about what this means for the overall seeding in today's video. And Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner continue their dominant ways. Each have scored 20-plus points in 11 straight games. That's the longest streak by a duo in Magic history, and it is the second longest streak in NBA history by a duo aged 23 or younger. Andrew Wiggins, Karl-Anthony Towns had 16. So the Magic will need to take this streak into the postseason to beat that record. But regardless, big time win. Welcome into Magic Digest, your one-stop shop for Orlando Magic basketball content here on YouTube. I'm your host, as always, Patrick Previty. And let's take a look at the subscribers. Look, this is a bit of an update, okay? I finally got a new screenshot of the analytics, okay? We are at 960 subs. We're trying to get to 1,000, hopefully by the end of the month. A lot of you guys who are watching these videos are subscribed, so definitely my way of saying thank you here by updating this these numbers here. Look, 45% of you, that's up 20%. I appreciate you guys. Welcome on in, and hopefully you guys stay for a very, very long time. Okay, so this game was defined by the fact that the Magic were just able to make a ton of shots today. They took like 10 less threes. They didn't take the threes that maybe some would say would be forced, okay? I think they were very aggressive tonight, but they were aggressive in all the right areas. They made 14 three-point shots. I believe that was the same amount as the Atlanta Hawks, yep. And they took 7 less three-point attempts. So that is a big deal, especially when we're looking at the percentages. And this team shot 50% from the field. That was gigantic for them today because there wasn't really too many differences between these two teams. They've played each other a couple times, and they played each other plenty over the last handful of years. And for the most part, both of their core or their nucleuses have remained the same. Obviously, the Atlanta Hawks have gone through a lot of different role players around Trae Young, but it's kind of been him and, a cast of characters, depending on whether or not they're going to last to the end of the year. And for the Magic, it's been Paolo and Franz, Wendell Carter Jr., and some of the guys coming off the bench, right? So this game between familiar foes, playoff-esque caliber, the Magic were able to make more shots. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner played 37 minutes, and Franz played 40. Wendell Carter Jr. played 37 minutes. That's when you know Jamahl Mosley meant business, sat out Tristan da Silva, decided to go with Jonathan Isaac off the bench instead of Bitadze. I think Wendell Carter Jr. also ate partially some of those minutes, and Jett Howard did not get to play either. Anthony Black got that trust. He had 21 minutes in this game, but it was really the time that Corey Joseph spent on the floor that was really big for this team. Just taking one extra look at the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young did his thing. Okongwu did his thing. There was a little bit of chippiness that was going on between Okongwu and Wendell Carter Jr. That was a very interesting part of this game. Maybe they missed a call initially on Wendell Carter Jr. or like a foul that was committed to Wendell Carter Jr., but then they kind of got him right back there at the end, and on the other end of the floor when Wendell Carter Jr. had a block on an alley-oop, and so it kind of offset after a couple technicals. Who knows? All right, this was like towards the last 7 minutes of the game, so it didn't really affect much, but there was a little bit of that. It was always fun to see. I believe Okongwu set his career high. But yes, this Magic team looked really, really good. Paolo Banchero has been dominating, averaging 30 points since the All-Star break. Franz Wagner also playing extremely well since just kind of coming back from his injury, and they seem to have found their footing. I have zero worry about both of those guys as the season progresses. This is game 79, so it's a great time to say as the season progresses, right? Because you better be peaking right now. This team definitely has. Going into this game, this team was off for 4 days. Last time we talked, we were talking college basketball a little bit. We were just kind of speculating. We were off for 4 days. You don't really get that, especially in the NBA season. And this team came out and they did not look rusty. If anything, they kind of let the Atlanta Hawks get back into this game, but they came out firing immediately and they were efficient when, after that 6-0 start that Atlanta had, right? After that, it was all Orlando Magic the rest of the way. They were able to force turnovers. They forced more turnovers than they committed. Always a great sign, and they were able to score some points off of those turnovers. They had 20 points off turnovers. Atlanta had 12. That was a big point of emphasis kind of in the middle part of the season for this Magic team and Jamahl Mosley. We've seen it creep up a handful of times, but it did not today, so that was a really good sign. And the rebounding wasn't exactly dominant for the Magic, but it was even, and we will take that at least for right now whenever we do sit a big like Bitadze for most of the game. We kind of go pretty small when we just had Wendell Carter Jr. out there at the 5, and it worked, and there wasn't any discrepancy in the rebounding. It was simply this team made shots. The Atlanta Hawks did not. So what is going on now with this 7th seed? Well, the Magic are 39-40, so this is creeping into 500 territory, and anytime you're 500 towards, and in the Eastern Conference, you're probably trending towards a playoff spot, because obviously most of these teams in the play-in don't have a winning record. So right now, the Orlando Magic are 2 games ahead fully now of the Atlanta Hawks. They're 2 games ahead in the loss column, and they've played the same amount of games. So really, really good sign there. The Magic and the Hawks do play again, and if we were looking at head-to-head, yes, that would mean that they're tied, but I believe if what I was hearing during the broadcast serves me correctly, this team has pretty much locked up that 7th seed no matter what happens in this next game, as long as the Orlando Magic don't falter too much over the next couple of games. This pretty much locks them into that 7th seed. So they will go play potentially the Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers. We kind of knew this. Looks like they're probably going to play Boston if they can really handle business and beat Atlanta again. That's a rough matchup. Obviously, that's not exactly the best matchup possible. It would have been really nice to have snuck into that 6th seed, go play New York, maybe 5th seed at some point during this year, go play the Pacers. But not the case. Too many injuries, too many games without any offense, and we are where we are. Okay, so the MVP of this time has been Paolo Banchero, so I wanted to continue to shine a light on how great he has been playing. These numbers have pretty much averaged out to where he should have been at the start of this year. He was obviously really hot, and was averaging almost 30 at the very beginning of the year, but I think at a certain point, I don't know if he's going to average 30 for the entire year, but right now what he's at is improvement across the board, pretty much in all of the categories, and you got to love what you're saying. Paolo Banchero is a bona fide superstar, and maybe he'll be able to make some noise in the first round playoff series that this Magic team gets into. That would be really great. I think this team deserves some experience based off of how this year has gone in the playoffs, not just the play-in, but the playoffs, so they need to make sure that they take care of business down the stretch. So this team was off for 4 days. That's obviously there wasn't a ton of rust, which is great, but that does end up, creating a back-to-back scenario. This team does welcome in the Boston Celtics tomorrow for another game, and we'll just have to see exactly how that is going to turn out. The Celtics right now are pretty much slotted right at that 2nd seed. Nothing is going to change that for the most part. Maybe they'll try to get to 60 wins, who knows. But this Magic and Celtics game probably won't be indicative of what that next round or what that first round series might end up looking like, but it'll be really fun to watch regardless. We'll see how this team works off of a back-to-back. They also have 3 games in 4 days because they go play the Indiana Pacers on Friday, so that'll be another thing to watch, who's playing, who's not. I'd imagine the Pacers game will be the final of this regular season if need be. If they can get this Celtics game, try to steal that, then maybe they don't really have to show their cards for the next couple games because they've got that 7th seed wrapped up, because this team ends with the Hawks on the 13th, ends the season with the Hawks on the 13th. Then they go right around and go play them again. Is there any chance that Chicago or Miami catches the Atlanta Hawks? Maybe. They are both tied at 36-43, and they are 1 game behind Atlanta, but I don't see it. I don't know exactly if the Bulls are trying to win right now, and then I don't know what's going on with the Miami Heat. Just strictly being honest, we'll see what they end up doing, if they can get hot and who they play. But I think it'll be Atlanta pretty much the rest of the way through, and I think Orlando will be in that 7th seed. So great news all around. Also in crazy news today in the NBA, Mike Malone got fired. Jamahl Mosley spoke about it a little bit, so I did want to make a video tomorrow on that. So guys, make sure to keep a lookout on that. Some coaches dropping like flies. Taylor Jenkins, Michael Malone, and the GM for the Denver Nuggets fired today. Just an interesting conversation when we're talking about underachieving teams, perhaps. Maybe the Magic, depending on what some people think, might fall into that category, and a lot of people might blame Jamahl Mosley. I think it's an interesting video for a greater conversation. So just make sure to stay tuned for that. That'll be tomorrow. But that's all the time I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with more Orlando Magic basketball content.